Hey there, it's Philip Seagraves. Going to work a kind of one of the most common real estate questions that you get from consumers. We're here at spaceovertime.com. Again, Philip Seagraves, and this one's refinancing. Should I refinance? I've been in a mortgage for a while, 5 years, and I'm trying to decide. Well, should I refinance? Rates are lower, and kind of the question always seems to come up: does it make sense to refinance? All right, well, we've got a $200,000 mortgage that I've got about 5 years ago, and at 7%, 30 years, and my payment is $1,330.60. Well, first, how do I calculate that payment in the first place? You can use there's a formula you can use just with pencil and paper, but we'll take a look at kind of the way most people would do this, and that'd be with just a regular financial calculator. This is the student version of the BA2 Plus. This is the standard calculator that most business students would use. And let's go ahead, and the first thing we're going to do is check to make sure that we've got the payments per year set to 12. That just makes it a little easier working with these calculators. I'm going to hit the second button here and the payments per year, and we're going to see that I think I've already set this one up at to be showing 12. Yeah, 12. And if it was set up for 1, you would just hit the 1 key, the 12, and then you'd press enter. So we're going to go ahead and get out of this menu here for the settings, and we're going to enter each of these items: the 200,000, 7%, and the 30, and then we're going to calculate or compute the payment. So how do we do that? Very easy. 200 to, this is a little bit slow doing this software for the calculator, so I'm going to just kind of take it easy here. And we've got $200,000 showing in our window, and then we're just going to hit our present value function, and that will return back and tell us present value equals $200,000. Next is our interest rate. Now the way this calculator works, we just hit the 7 and we put our interest rate per year right there, and since we've already put 12, we don't have to divide that by 12. Now in this one, we do need to go ahead and put the number of monthly payments, so it's 360. It would be 30 times 12. So we're going to go ahead and just plug in 360, and we'll plug that into our N, or our number of payments, and we'll just hit that right there, the N key, 360. And now with this calculator, it's a real simple function. We just hit the compute and the payment button, and now we're going to come up with $1,330.60. It shows that as negative because that's an outflow of cash, and I've just put it in here. Now 5 years into the mortgage, should we refinance it? Well, how much are we going to refinance? We've already paid off some of our loan. How much do we have left to pay off? Well, we just need to change to come up with our payoff. All we got to do is really quickly change the number of payments to how many payments we have left, and then we'll calculate our present value. So we'll leave our payments the same. We know that's what our payments are. How many periods do we have left? After 5 years, we have not 360 payments left, but now we have 300 payments left. So I'm just going to simply change the N to 300 payments, which is how many payments I have left. And now we're just going to compute the present value. Instead of plugging the present value in of 200, we're going to compute the new present value, which is after 5 years. Compute present value, and after 5 years we still owe $188,263.18. $188,263.18. $188,283.16. All right. I'll throw a little comma in there so it's easier to see. Oops, that's 263. $263.18. I got my numbers mixed up a little bit there. That'll happen. Okay. So now we've got this much. This is how much our new loan would be if we refinance. We're going to get a new loan for this amount. But hey, these loans aren't free. The bank's going to want to charge us probably 1% to make this new loan happen. So 1%, that's not chump change. We're going to be paying 1% of this loan to get it refinanced. So that's going to be $1,882.63. So we can quickly do this on the calculator just by multiplying this number times 1.01. So we'll just say times 1.01. 1. Okay, and that gives us 190,145.10. 190, 145.10. All right, so 190,145.10. Okay, so that is our new loan amount. And back in our calculator, we're going to simply make that our new present value. So we have that value, it's already in the window. I'm just going to make that our present value. But remember, we have a new interest rate. So what's our new interest rate? Let's say that we're being offered 6.5%. 6.5% is our new loan. And let's put in our calculator 6.5, and that is our new interest rate. So I hit our interest rate button in our calculator. And remember, we still have our N set for 300. We got to set that back. We're going to go ahead and get another 30-year mortgage. So we got to set our number of periods back to 360. And now, what's our new payment? Compute payment. All right. Well, I'll go ahead and copy that. And let's make sure we, just for clarity, we'll put and there is our new payment amount. Now, to be consistent, we'll take out that minus sign down here. All right, so we've got an old payment is $1,330, and we've got a new payment of $1,201.85. All right, well, that sounds pretty good. We're going to be saving about 130 bucks, something like that, every single month. So that sounds like a pretty good deal. But what did we have to pay to get that? We had to pay that $1,800, almost $1,900 to get that. So how long is it going to take us to get that paid back? Well, we could just divide. A real simple thing could just be divide that number of the savings into how much we're going to have to pay and see how long it's going to take. But keep in mind that we start getting these savings right away, very first month. But that extra payoff, we don't have to do that for a while. Whenever we sell this house or pay off the loan or do something else. So kind of the timing of these payments is we have to take that into account. First of all, what is our savings? So we have $1,330.60. So let's add that to this. Plus $1,330.60. 13. And what we'll do, because the other number was already negative, is we'll get our payment savings. So our payment savings is going to be not too shabby. So our payment savings is $128.75 every single month. So we're going to be saving that every month. That's not so bad. I'd like to save $128.75. But as I had mentioned earlier, that $128.75 comes at a cost. The downside of refinancing is one day I'm going to have to pay off a higher mortgage amount. Well, what's the difference going to be in those two amounts? Well, let's take a look. First thing let's do, we'll shrink this stuff out of the way. We'll come back to it. I didn't mean to do it that way. And what we want to do is There we go. Let's kind of move this stuff out of the way, and we'll just kind of set that to the side, so if we need to refer to it, it'll be right over there. Okay, but our next item is going to be to calculate the amount that we're going to have to pay off in that extra payment. So what are those payoffs going to be? Well, think about it. The first thing is we could have just kept the old mortgage. And let's say that we might keep the new mortgage for another 5 years. So our payoff on the old mortgage would have been going through all these same steps that we went through earlier to come up with that $188,000 payoff. But now we're going to be 10 years into that mortgage. So 10 years into a mortgage, that means we're going to have 20 years left. So 20 times 12 is going to be 240 payments left. So let's kind of go back through that original problem that we had earlier. Let's make sure that we get everything from this mortgage set back up like we should have. So we need our, we can go ahead and plug in our payment is 1300 and 1330.60. We could have recalculated if we needed to, but we had it already saved here, so we can just do that. And remember, that payment needs to be, that payment's going to be negative the way this calculator works. If we just need to remember that, we'll just change the sign there to 1330.60. I use this plus minus key right there. And we're going to make that our payment. Okay. Now, and if you recall, our present value, we're going to reset that back to the 200,000. Well, actually, we don't need to worry about that because what we're going to be solving for is our present value in this one, so we can forget that. But we do need to put our interest rate back in there. 7% is our interest rate, and we have 240 payments left, so that's our N. And now we're going to compute our present value. All right, now after 5 years, our balance on the old mortgage was 188,263. Now the balance on the new mortgage is 171,624.12. All right, so new balance on, let's say, on our old mortgage after 10 years. Okay, so that's our balance on the old mortgage. We'll throw a comma in there so it's easier to read that. Okay, so but what about the new mortgage? Well, the new mortgage, we're going to be starting off with a present value of that 6.5, 30 years. But, and here's our payment. But think about it. After 10 years on the old mortgage, we're going to have this balance, but we're going to be comparing that to 5 years on the new mortgage. All right, so let's figure out what our balance is going to be after 5 years on the new mortgage. So let's go ahead and plug in our present value, which is going to be, we're going to plug in our payment, $1,201.85. And then we're going to plug in how many payments we have left. I'm going to have to do that again because sometimes it doesn't take these keys. 1201. This is painful doing this. Wish I could show you guys just my regular handheld calculator. We're going to change that sign again like we did earlier. That's our payment. So now we're going to hit our payment button. That's our payment that we're working with now. And our interest rate is 6.5. And we're going to plug that into our interest rate. And now, 5 years into this mortgage, we're going to have not 360 payments, but we're going to have 300 payments. So we're going to have 300. Payments, and we're going to plug that into our N. And what do we want to compute now? We've done everything except for computing our present value. Okay, now this one, we have a present value of 177,900. So we're going to all right. New balance on new mortgage after 5 years. And that's 5 years on the new mortgage. Okay. So, what's the difference? So this is going to be 10 years after the old mortgage and 5 years after the new mortgage. It's going to be the same date. So we can compare these two amounts. So if I just want to take this 177 and compare that to the 171, all I'm going to do here is 171,624, and we just want to come up with the difference there. So 171,624, we'll just round it. Alrighty, let's just subtract. $171. Oh no, this is 1. This is painful. Okay, so the balance on the new mortgage is $6,300 more than the old mortgage. So what that means is if you sell this house, you're going to walk away with $6,373 less than the other mortgage if you just kept the old mortgage. So let's go ahead and plug that in over here. We'll copy that down, and that's a misspelling, but that's okay. Alright, so now we have the good, which is saving $128 every month. And we have the bad. We have a payment, we have a balance on our mortgage at the end of 5 years. It's going to be $6,373 more. Well, how do you compare those two numbers? Well, we could just divide that, because that's 60 payments of $128 into the 6373, and you really could do that as a quick rule of thumb, because you're starting to get these payments right away, and this payment goes way out into the future, and only make a decision if it doesn't add up. If 60 of these don't add up to more than that. But we'll go ahead and do it and figure out the exact amount. So what is the present value of 6373.10? What's the present value of that? What's the value of that today? Well, first of all, what kind of discount rate would we use? Well, to go on the let's go ahead and use the discount rate 7%, which is our opportunity cost of capital, what we would do with the money otherwise. And you could use any number. If you're going to take money, if you're going to invest this savings in the stock market at 12%, you could use that number. But we'll just use this 7% number up here. You could have a whole big argument and debate on what discount rate to use, but we'll just keep it simple and stick with 7%. So let's take this $6,373 that is going to hit us 5 years from now, and we'll discount that back to today at 7%, and that'll be kind of at a monthly rate. So let's say 7%, and we will make that $6,373 our future value. So we're going to make that our future value, okay, and we're going to make our payment 0, and our interest per year is 7, and we have 60 is our N, and now we're just going to compute present value. So that $6,300 is worth about $4,500, $4,450. So let's copy that. Present value is, and we'll go ahead and take that because we didn't make that future value a negative amount. We'll go ahead and make that, going to just be consistent here. So if we're going to get or pay that $63.73 down the road, that's worth today $44.95. Okay, great. Well, what is 5 years worth of getting $128 a month worth? Well, let's go find out. So if we have our payment, now we're going to work with payments. So we have a payment of $128.75, and we'll go ahead and change the sign this time so everything's consistent. That's our payment. Now this time we have no future value. All we have are those payments. We don't have that big lump sum down the road, so I'm going to change my future value to 0. Now if you remember though, N is still correct, interest rate is still correct. Now we would just want to do the same thing again. We want to compute the present value of that big stream of payments that are going to be coming in. All right, so we have a present value of $65.0213. $65.0213. And that's the PV of my payment savings. Okay, so remember, this is the good part. I'm saving money. This is the bad part. This is what the present value of that extra is going to be worth down the road. So if you think the extra balance on my mortgage 5 years from now is going to be about $4,400, about $4,500, but the present value of those payment savings is $6,500. So it's about $2,000 difference. So in this case, I am going to refinance. Now a little twist on this thing is, it depends on how far out you have to go. Now if we had only 2 years to go out into the future, think about what's going to happen here. We're only going to get 2 years worth of this payment savings, but if you remember, the value of, we're going to have to pay that $1,800 in closing costs, and the further you go out into the future, the more chance you have to get these payment savings, the more chances you're going to have, the longer you're going to have to recoup that investment. So this is really sensitive to the amount of time. So go ahead and play with it. Play with a different year, a different number of years, but keep in mind that number, you don't just use that in computing the present value of these two cash flows, either that big lump sum down at the end compared to those payment savings. You've also got to use that when you're calculating the balances of these new mortgages, the old mortgage, the new mortgage compared to the old mortgage. So those numbers are going to change as well. So hopefully this helped, and unfortunately a lot of people don't make a decision using the data. They just listen to what the mortgage broker or banker will tell them, and a lot of times you'll get somebody honest that'll give you some good advice, but sometimes maybe not, because they make a big fat commission when you do one of these transactions. So anyway, everybody have a great day, and hopefully this was helpful, and hopefully you learned something. Thanks. Bye. Again, it's Philip Seagraves with www.spaceovertime.com.